Hi there, hope you're doing well. During the COVID crisis, Boris Johnson has several times spoken about common sense. In May, he mentioned good, solid British common sense. And in a speech on the 23rd of June, he said, "From the outset, we have trusted in the common sense and perseverance of the British people." Now, what is common sense? I'm not always sure whether I've got common sense because I tend to see things often a little bit different to the way other people seem to do. And those of us that saw the scenes on Bournemouth Beach a couple of weeks ago when the sun was shining, did those people show common sense? But I shouldn't think anyone went out that day to cause themselves or their family or their loved ones harm. They all got up and thought this was a good and a right thing to do. Now, one thing about common sense is it's what people commonly believe. It's common to us, but that leads to problems because the majority are not always right. So thinking about common sense then led me to think, well, for me and for the rest of us, are we good or are we bad? So often religion has made people feel bad about themselves. We're all sinners and we're all terrible and we've done wrong. And sometimes that's important that we have to admit that. But the Bible also talks about us being very special. I love Psalm 139, and in that psalm David says this: "For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." Your works are wonderful, and of course we're God's workmanship. We're all different, but we're all created in God's image. We go around and we say, "I'm nothing special," but we are. We're all unique. We're all a little bit special. We're all in our own way extraordinary. So there's good and there's bad, as we know, in each one of us. And I think one thing that's important at the moment is that we get our priorities right. Religious people haven't always done that. Jesus speaks to the Pharisees in Matthew 23, and the Pharisees were religious hardliners of their day. They thought they were obeying God. They felt they were showing common sense. But Jesus says this to them. In Matthew 23, "You give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill and cumin." Now, whoever thought those spices were mentioned in the Bible? But they felt they were obeying the Old Testament laws, that these were things you need to do. But Jesus said this: "You have neglected the more important matter of the law, justice, mercy and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel." What a fantastic image that is, isn't it? Of someone meticulously trying to make sure that they don't imbibe a gnat, a very small fly, but they end up swallowing a camel. Jesus told another camel joke, didn't he, when he spoke about the rich trying to enter the kingdom of God because the rich felt they had a right to do so. And Jesus said it's easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. The eye of a needle, some people say that was a small gate in Jerusalem, that in order that you'd never get through on a camel, and you needed to get off your camel to do it, so you couldn't rely on your riches. So a couple of camel jokes there in the New Testament. But the important thing there is that Jesus is saying, look, we need to get our priorities right. And he said to them that the priorities were this: justice, mercy and faithfulness. They were the important things. He then said, yes, please do tithe your mint and dill and cumin, but that's not as important as justice, mercy and faithfulness. And I feel in these days we need to get our priorities right. Even today, justice is important, isn't it? It's important that people are treated properly. particularly the poor, particularly the vulnerable. Mercy. We need to show mercy when people do things that we don't approve of. Let's not condemn them. Let's show a little bit of mercy to them. And then faithfulness. Let's be reliable people, full of faith, but also those who are there for others and who are helping others along the way. They're the important things that we need to keep to. So, common sense. I'm not always sure whether I've got it, but let's make sure we get our priorities right today. Justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Have a great week. Goodbye.